Hi guys, let's continue with part 4 of the 36th UPSC Prelims 2020 test series from Vision IAS. So the first question is question number 76. Which of the following statements is or are correct regarding gharial? The first statement is its habitat is confined to the Indian subcontinent. Number 2, it is classified as critically endangered. Number 3, they are mostly found in marine environments. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is A. The correct answer is A, that is 1 and 2. Its habitat is confined to the Indian subcontinent and it is classified as critically endangered. The gharial is a river dwelling crocodilian with adult gharial showing the widespread use of river systems with seasonal migratory behaviors. Gharial is highly vulnerable to impacts from fishing and malicious killing. The eggs are also vulnerable because in some areas they are sought for food or medicine. They are mostly found in permanent rivers or streams or creeks, which includes waterfalls with some marginal population in freshwater lakes. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Statement 1 is correct. Their population is restricted to North India, Nepal, and Pakistan. The Chambal River in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh has become a major stronghold of these species. Gharial occurs in tributaries of the Ganges and the Yamuna, that is Gan, Son, and are also reported from the Brahmaputra. The Indus in Pakistan is the main home of the gharial there, while in Nepal they are found in the Karnali, Kali, Koshi, and Narayani rivers. Isolated populations are also found in the Girva and the Mahanadi in Orissa. Gharials are a good indicator of clean river water since gharials prefer to dwell in clean, fresh waters. Statement 2 is correct. They are classified as critically endangered by IUCN. They are also protected under the Scheduled 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Now let's come to next question, that is question number 77. With reference to the United Nations Military Observer Group in India and Pakistan, UNMOGIP, consider the following statements. Statement 1. It was set up for peaceful resolution of East Pakistan in the aftermath of the Indo-Pakistan War in 1971. Number 2, currently it observes and reports on ceasefire violations along and across the LOC in Jammu and Kashmir. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer is B. The correct answer is B, that is 2 only. Currently, it observes and reports on ceasefire violations along and across the LOC in Jammu and Kashmir. Statement 1 is not correct. In August 1947, India and Pakistan became independent. Under this scheme of partition provided by the Indian Independence Act of 1947, Kashmir was free to accede to India or Pakistan. Its accession to India became a matter of dispute between the two countries and fighting broke out later that year. The first team of unarmed military observers, which eventually formed the nucleus of the United Nations Military Observer Group in India and Pakistan, that is UNMOGIP, arrived in the mission area in January 1949 to supervise in the state of Jammu and Kashmir the ceasefire between India and Pakistan and to assist the military advisor to UNCIP. India, however, maintains that UNMOGIP has outlived its relevance after the Shimla Agreement signed between the two countries in 1972. However, the military authorities of Pakistan have continued to lodge alleged ceasefire violations complaints with UNMOGIP. Statement 2 is correct. Currently, the UNMOGIP, established in January 1949, observes and reports on ceasefire violations along and across the LOC and the working boundary between the two neighbors in Jammu and Kashmir, as well as reports developments that could lead to ceasefire violations. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 78. What is unique about the region named Danakil Depression? Number A, it is the driest region in the world with no recorded rainfall in the last decade. Number B, it is a region bounded by trade winds and jet streams forming a unique atmospheric gyre. Number C, it is the only place where even extremophile microbes cannot survive. Number D, it is the deepest crustal fault formed by cracking of the African plate. So the correct answer is C. The correct answer is C. It is the only place where even extremophile microbes cannot survive. The Danakil Depression in northeastern Ethiopia is one of the world's hottest places as well as one of its lowest at 100 meters below sea level. At the northern end of the Great Rift Valley and separated by live volcanoes from the Red Sea, the plain was formed by the evaporation of an inland water body. All the water entering the Danakil evaporates and no streams flow out from its extreme environment. It is covered with more than 10 lakh tons of salt. A new study cited that active and naturally occurring life, including extremophile microbes, cannot be sustained at Danakil. It identifies two barriers. Number one, magnesium dominated brines that cause cells to break down, and environment having simultaneously very low pH and high salt, a combination that makes adaptation highly difficult. Extremophile microbes are those which can adapt to environmental conditions that are too extreme for everything else. Now let's come to the next question, question number 79. With reference to Chardham National Highway project, consider the following statements. Number one, it aims to connect the four cities of Badrinath, Dwarka, Rameshwaram, and Puri. Number two, it is being built under the Swadesh Darshan scheme. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer is D. That is neither 1 nor 2. So both of them are incorrect. Statement 1 is not correct. Chardham National Highway NH project comprises improvement as well as the development of 889 kilometer length of national highways. The Chardham will connect Badrinath Dham, Kedarnath Dham, Gangotri, Yamunotri, and part of the route leading to Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. The total cost of the project is estimated at rupees 11,700 crore. The project was earlier scheduled to be completed by March 2020, according to the details of the central government. 7 stretches have been identified for development under the Chardham Highway project. On National Highway number 58, 140-kilometer stretch including 594-meter long high-level bridges at Kalyasore from Rishikesh to Rudraprayag will be developed. On National Highway 58, 160-kilometer stretch between Rudraprayag and Mana village will be developed. This includes mitigation measures for chronic Lambagara landslide zone. Statement 2 is not correct. On National Highway 94, 144-kilometer stretch including 430-meter long tunnel near Chamba from Rishikesh to Dharasu will be developed. On National Highway 108, 124-kilometer long stretch including mitigation measures of 3 landslide zones between Dharasu and Gangotri will be developed. On National Highway 94, 95-kilometer long stretch including 5-kilometer long tunnel near Salkyara Bend from Dharasu to Yamunotri will be developed. On National Highway 109, under 76-kilometer long stretch including 750-meter long viaduct near Sonprayag from Rudraprayag to Gaurikund will be developed. On National Highway 125, 150-kilometer long stretch will be developed. 3 bypass roads will also be constructed on this stretch. The BRO has been the Border Road Organization has been given the task of constructing 250 kilometers of the national highway which is leading to the shrines of Gangotri and Badrinath. The project is not being built under the Swadesh Darshan scheme. Question number 80. Which of the following Indian art forms is yet to find a place on UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity? Number 1. Kalbelia. Number 2. Chau. Number 3. Durga Puja. Number 4. Kuttiyatam. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is B. The correct answer is B, that is 3 only. Durga Puja. A total of 13 intangible cultural heritage ICH elements from India have been inscribed on UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. For inclusion of an element in the UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage, the state parties are required to submit nomination dossier on the relevant elements for evaluation and examination of the UNESCO committee. The Ministry of Culture has appointed the Sangeet Natak Academy, an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Culture, as a nodal office for matters relating to the intangible cultural heritage, including for the preparation of the nomination dossiers for the representative list of UNESCO. So we have ICH element and the year of inscription. The first one is Tradition of Vedic Chanting, 2008. Number 2, Ram Leela, the traditional performance of the Ramayana, 2008. Number 3, Kuttiyatam Sanskrit Theatre, 2008. Number 4, Raman Religious Festival and Ritual Theatre of the Garawal Himalayas, 2009. Muddiyettu Ritual Theatre and Dance Drama of Kerala, 2010. Number 6, Kalbelia Folk Songs and Dances of Rajasthan, 2010. Number 7, Chow Dance, 2010. Number 8, Buddhist Chanting of Ladakh, 2012. Number 9, Sankirtana, Ritual Singing, Drumming and Dancing of Manipur, 2013. Number 10, Traditional Brass and Copper Craft of Utensil Making among the Thateras of Jandiala Guru, Punjab in 2014. So number 10 is traditional brass and copper craft of utensil making among the Thateras of Jandiala Guru, Punjab in 2014. Number 11, Yoga 2016. Number 12, Nowruz 2016. Number 13 is Kumbh Mela 2016. Durga Puja in West Bengal has been recently nominated in 2019 but has not been inscribed on the list yet. So now let's come to question number 81. Recently, a styrene vapor leak accident took place in Visakhapatnam. In this context, consider the following statements regarding styrene. Number 1, it is an organic compound which is liquid but easily evaporates at temperatures higher than 20 degrees Celsius. Number 2, it is used to make various parts of appliances such as refrigerators and microwave ovens. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer is C. The correct answer is C. That is both 1 and 2 are correct. It is an organic compound which is liquid but easily evaporates at temperatures higher than 20 degrees Celsius. Number 2, it is used to make various parts of appliances such as refrigerators and microwave ovens. Styrene is an organic compound with the formula C8H8. It is a derivative of benzene C6H6. It is stored in factories as a liquid but evaporates easily and has to be kept at temperatures under 20 degrees Celsius. Styrene is the main raw material for synthesis of polystyrene or C8H8. Polystyrene in turn is a versatile plastic that is used to make parts of various appliances such as refrigerators or microwave ovens. Okay, so styrene is the main raw material for synthesis of polystyrene or C8H8. Then we have polystyrene in turn is a versatile plastic that is used to make parts of various appliances such as refrigerators or microwave ovens. Automotive parts and parts of electronics such as computers and also to manufacture disposable cups and in food packaging. Styrene is also used as an intermediate to produce copolymers, which are polymers derived from one or more species of monomers such as styrene. Experts say that if people are exposed to the gas Okay, so experts say that if people are exposed to the gas for a long period, there is a chance of their developing leukemia and headaches. It is the mucous membrane that is mainly affected by exposure to styrene gas. In Visakhapatnam, the styrene gas leak caused acute breathlessness among many people, a few of whom have died. Now let's come to question number 82. With reference to Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Pariyojana, consider the following statements. So, with reference to Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Pariyojana, consider the following statements. Number one, it aims to make quality generic medicines and surgical equipment available to the disadvantaged at affordable prices. Number two, the Bureau of Pharma PSUs of India is the nodal implementing agency for this scheme. Number three, the Janausadhi Sugam mobile app has been launched for tracking Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Kendras under this scheme. So, which of the statements given above is or are correct? So, the correct answer is D. That is 1, 2, and 3. All of them are correct. So, all the statements are correct. The Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Pariyojana (PMBJP) has been providing over 900 quality generic medicines and 154 surgical equipment and consumables at affordable prices to every citizen of the nation. The objective of the scheme is making quality medicines available at affordable prices for all, particularly the poor and disadvantaged, through exclusive outlets so as to reduce the out of pocket expenditure. Recently, the government has launched Janaushadhi Sugam mobile app, which will help to track down the nearest Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Kendra (PMJAK) and the availability of affordable generic medicines with its price. Presently, more than 6,300 PMJAKs are functioning across the nation, covering 726 districts of the country. The Bureau of Pharma PSUs of India (BPPI) under the administrative control of the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, is the nodal implementing agency for this scheme. BPPI has been established with the support of all the pharma CPSUs for coordinating procurement, supply, and marketing of generic drugs through the Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Kendras. Now let's come to next question, question number 83. Which of the following was or were a feature or features of the Government of India Act of 1935? Number one, provision for a federal structure. Number two, property qualification to be a part of the electorate. Number three, provision for discretionary powers of the governors. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is C. The correct answer is C. That is 1, 2, and 3. All of them are correct. In August 1935, the British Parliament passed the Government of India Act of 1935. Some features of the Act were: in the provinces, In place of diarchy, the Act provided for responsible government in all the departments, but this was balanced off by wide discretionary powers given to the governor about summoning legislatures, giving assent to bills, and administering tribal reasons. The governors were also given special power to safeguard minority rights, privileges of civil servants, and British business interests. And finally, they could take over and run the administration of a province indefinitely under a special provision. At the center, the Act provided for a federal structure based on the union of the British Indian provinces and princely states. But it would come into effect only if more than 50% of the princely states formally acceded to it by signing the instruments of accession, which would override their previous treaties with the British Crown. The representatives of the state to federal legislature were to be appointed directly by the princes who were to be used to check and counter the nationalists. The Act introduced diarchy at the center but subject to various safeguards, and departments like foreign affairs, defense, and internal security remained completely under the control of the viceroy. Another feature of this act was the transfer of financial control from London to New Delhi in response to a long standing demand of the Government of India for fiscal autonomy. The electorate was enlarged to 30 million, but the high property qualifications only enfranchised 10% of the Indian population. Now let's come to the next question, question number 84. The recently approved Danube oder Elbe Canal, which has raised various environmental concerns, seeks to connect which of the following water bodies? Number A, Caspian Sea, Aral Sea, and Adriatic Sea. Number B, Mediterranean Sea and Atlantic Ocean. Number C, Black Sea, North Sea and Baltic Sea. Number D, English Channel and North Sea. So the correct answer is C. That is Black Sea, North Sea, and Baltic Sea. The Danube Oder Elbe Canal intends to connect the Danube, Oder, and Elbe rivers and thus provide another navigable link from the Black Sea to the North and Baltic Seas. Environmental organizations from across Central and Eastern Europe have criticized a major project intending to link three rivers and provide seamless navigation between three of Europe's peripheral seas. The acceleration of flood waves resulting from the construction of numerous locks and canalized and deepened riverbeds is expected to diminish flood protection and increase flood risk further. The canal could result in a great loss of biodiversity. The areas where the canal is built offer a safe haven to Europe's most valuable and threatened species and habitats for birds as well as other animal and plant species. It might threaten rare habitats for endangered animal and plant species. Okay, so the answer is C, that is the Black Sea, North Sea, and the Baltic Sea. Now let's come to next question, question number 85. With reference to Guru Gobind Singh, consider the following statements. Number 1, he waged constant war against the armies of Aurangzeb. Number 2, he became a noble under Bahadur Shah of the rank of 5,000 Jat and 5,000 Sawar. Number 3, after his death, the leadership of the Sikhs passed to his trusted disciple Banda Bahadur. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer is D. That is 1, 2, and 3. All of them are correct. So 1, 2, and 3 are all correct. Founded at the end of the 15th century by Guru Nanak, the Sikh religion spread among the Jat, peasantry, and other lower castes of Punjab. The transformation of the Sikhs into a militant fighting community was begun by Guru Hargobind from 1606 to 1645. It was, however, under the leadership of Guru Gobind Singh 1664 to 1708. It was under the leadership of Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th and the last Guru of the Sikhs, that they became a political and military force. From 1699 onwards, Guru Gobind Singh waged constant war against the armies of Aurangzeb and the Hill Rajas. After Aurangzeb's death, Guru Gobind Singh joined Bahadur Shah's camp as a noble of the rank of 5,000 Jat and 5,000 Sawar and accompanied him to the Deccan, where he was treacherously murdered by one of his Pathan employees. After Guru Gobind Singh's death and the leadership of the Sikhs passed to his trusted disciple Banda Singh, who is more widely known as Banda Bahadur. Banda rallied together with the Sikh peasants of Punjab and carried on a vigorous, though the unequal struggle against the Mughal army for 8 years. He was captured in 1715 and put to death. His death gave a setback to the territorial ambitions of the Sikhs, and their power declined. Guru Granth Sahib was given the Guruship by the last of the living Sikh masters, Guru Gobind Singh, in 1708. Guru Gobind Singh said before his demise that the Sikhs were to treat the Granth Sahib as their next Guru. Now let's come to question number 86. In the context of elections, which of the following is or are the advantages of using a proportional representation over first past the post system? Number 1, minority parties would have a better chance of winning seats in parliament. Number 2, it is best suitable for giving a stable government in a parliamentary system. Number 3, it offers voters a choice not simply between parties but also between specific candidates. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is A. The correct answer is A. That is 1 only. Minority parties would have a better chance of winning seats in parliament. Proportional representation is an electoral system in which parties gain seats in direct proportion to the number of votes they receive. Proportional representation, that is PR, is a term used to describe a range of electoral systems in which the distribution of seats corresponds closely with the proportion of the total votes cast for each party or individual candidate. PR, that is proportional representation, offers alternatives to first past the post and other majoritarian voting systems based on single member electoral areas, which tend to produce disproportionate outcomes and to have a bias in favor of larger political groups. PR systems, by contrast, tend to offer a better chance of representation to smaller parties and groups. In the PR system, there could be two variations. In some countries like Israel or Netherlands, the entire country is treated as one constituency and seats are allocated to each party according to its share of votes in the national election. The other method is when the country is divided into several multi-member constituencies, as in Argentina and Portugal. Each party prepares a list of candidates for each constituency, depending on how many have to be elected from that constituency. In both these variations, voters exercise their preference for a party and not a candidate. The seats in a constituency are distributed on the basis of votes polled by a party. Thus, representatives from a constituency would and do belong to different parties. In India, we have adopted the PR system on a limited scale for indirect elections. The Constitution prescribes a complex variation of the PR system for the election of President, Vice President, and for the election to the Rajya Sabha and Vidhan Parishads. The advantages of a PR electoral system. Moving the proportional representation may offer would give minority parties and independent candidates a better chance of winning seats in parliament. So, moving to proportional representation would give minority parties and independent candidates a better chance of winning seats in parliament. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The current first past the post electoral system is considered unrepresentative, as candidates can be elected with a very small share of the votes, while all other votes cast in the constituency are wasted. PR ensures that the parties would have to appeal to their core supporters rather than a small number of so-called swing voters in marginal seats. It would be argued that PR delivers fairer treatment of minority parties and independent candidates. Under PR, fewer votes are wasted as more people's preferences are taken into account. PR potentially offers a greater and more representative choice for votes. PR may encourage turnout and reduce apathy. PR rarely produces an absolute majority for one party. However, it could be argued that PR ensures greater continuity of government and requires greater consensus in policy making. The advantages of a PR electoral system. The first, okay, so what are the disadvantages of a PR electoral system? The first disadvantage is the first past the post, that is FPTP system, offers voters a choice. not simply between parties but specific candidates. In other electoral systems, especially PR systems, voters are often asked to choose a party and the representatives are elected on the basis of party list. As a result, there is no one representative who represents and is responsible for one locality. In a constituency based system like the FPTP, the voters know who their own representative is and can hold him or her accountable. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. The next disadvantage is that the FPTP system encourages voters from different social groups to come together to win an election in a locality. In a diverse country like India, a PR system would encourage each community to form its own nationwide party. Next disadvantage is PR based election may not be suitable for giving a stable government in a parliamentary system. PR produces weak coalition governments rather than strong majority governments, which arguably can lead to indecision, compromise, and even legislative paralysis. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. The next disadvantage is that PR can also reduce accountability to voters as an ousted party of government can retain office by finding new coalition partners after an election. The adoption of PR list systems weakens the link between the elected representative and his or her constituency. The next disadvantage is the greater complexity and choice that PR allows can put voters off voting by requiring them to have a greater knowledge of individual and party positions. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 87. It is a national park as well as a biosphere reserve located in Assam. It is identified as one of the important bird areas, that is IBA. It mainly consists of moist mixed semi-evergreen forest and moist mixed deciduous forest. It is an island bounded by the Brahmaputra and its tributaries. It was recently in news due to a controversial oil drilling project inside it. Which of the following is being described in the above passage? Number A, Manas National Park. Number B, Kaziranga National Park. Number C, Dibru-Saikhowa National Park. Number D, Nameri National Park. So the correct answer is C. That is Dibru-Saikhowa National Park. Dibru-Saikhowa National Park is a national park as well as a biosphere reserve having an area of 340 square kilometers in Tinsukia district of Assam. The park is bounded by the Brahmaputra and Lohit rivers in the north and Dibru River in the south. It mainly consists of moist mixed semi-evergreen forest, moist mixed deciduous forest, canebrakes, and grasslands. It is the largest salix swamp forest in northeastern India with a tropical monsoon climate with a hot and wet summer and cool and unusually dry winter. It is an identified important bird area, that is IBA, having more than 382 species of birds. Recently, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change issued environmental clearance for extension drilling and testing of hydrocarbons at 7 locations under the park. This was questioned by various green activists and local organizations, questioning citing the possible damage to the ecologically sensitive park. So the correct answer is C, that is Dibru-Saikhowa National Park. Question number 88. Which of the following pairs is or are correctly matched? We have in the one side missions and the other side we have objective. So the first one is Tianwen 1. It's for Mars mission. Number 2, Arctica M, satellite for measuring sea ice. Then number 3, we have ICE IceSat 2. It would be for satellite for monitoring the Arctic climate. So Arctica M, satellite for measuring sea ice thickness. Then number 3, ICE IceSat 2, it would be for satellite for monitoring the Arctic climate. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is A. The correct answer is A, that is 1 only. So Tianwen 1 is for Mars mission. China's space program is now slated to launch Mars mission, the Tianwen 1, which is expected to land on the red planet's surface in the first quarter of 2021. Named after the ancient Chinese poet, named after the ancient Chinese poem, Questions to Heaven, the Tianwen 1 and all-in-one orbiter, lander, rover will search the Martian surface for water, ice, investigate soil characteristics, and study the atmosphere, among completing other objectives. The success of the mission will make China the third country to achieve a Mars landing after USSR and the United States. Hence, pair 1 is correctly matched. The Russia will soon launch its first Arctica M satellite for monitoring the Arctic climate and environment. Russia's Arctica M remote sensing and emergency communications satellites will gather meteorological data in the polar regions of the Earth, which will allow improving weather forecasts and will enable scientists to better study climate change. Hence, pair 2 is not correctly matched. Now, next one is NASA's Ice Cloud and Land Elevation Satellite 2, that is IceSat 2. Measures Arctic Ocean's sea ice thickness, snow cover. It is part of NASA's Earth Observing System. It is a satellite mission for measuring ice sheet elevation and sea ice thickness. IceSat 2 has a laser altimeter which uses pulses of light to precisely measure height down to about an inch. Hence, pair 2 is not correctly matched. So, for IceSat 2, it should be satellite for measuring sea ice thickness, and for Arctica M, it should be satellite for monitoring the Arctic climate. Okay, so here only A is correct, means only the first pair, that is Tianwen 1, which is a Mars mission, is only correct. Now the next question is 89. The word Hineguya salminicola is sometimes mentioned in the news in reference to, okay, the word Hineguya salminicola is sometimes mentioned in the news in reference to Number A. Recently discovered exotic fish in the Gulf of Khambat. Number B. A homeopathic drug to increase immunity. Number C. A newly discovered non-oxygen breathing animal. Number D. Recently developed clone of a calf. So the correct answer is C. The correct answer is C, that is a newly discovered non-oxygen breathing animal. Researchers at Tel Aviv University (TAU) has discovered a non-oxygen breathing animal which is called Heneguya salminicola. Since animals, including humans, need the energy to perform the various tasks that are essential for survival, this discovery significantly changes one of science's assumptions about the animal world, that all animals use aerobic respiration and therefore oxygen. It also challenges what may be generally thought of as evolution in organisms, that they become more complex as they evolve. In the case of this non-oxygen breathing organism, evolution turned it into a simpler organism that shed unnecessary genes responsible for aerobic respiration. It is a fewer than 10-celled microscopic parasite that lives in the salmon mussel. According to the researchers, as the organism evolved, it gave up breathing and stopped the consumption of oxygen for the production of energy, which means it relies on anaerobic respiration through which cells extract energy without using oxygen. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 90. Okay. Question number 90. Consider the following statements with reference to certificate of deposits in the Indian context. The first statement is, these are negotiable money market instruments issued by a bank on account of depositing money for a specified time period. Number two, these can be issued by scheduled commercial banks, excluding regional rural banks and local area banks. Number three, they are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer is A, that is 1 and 2 only. So the correct answer is A, that is 1 and 2 only. These are negotiable money market instruments issued by a bank on account of depositing money for a specified time period. And number two, these can be issued by scheduled commercial banks, excluding regional rural banks and local area banks. Certificate of deposit, that is CD, is a negotiable money market instrument and issued in dematerialized form or as a usance promissory note. That is, promissory notes which are payable after a predecided definite period against funds deposited at a bank or other eligible financial institution for a specified time period. It is an agreement between the depositor and the bank where a predetermined amount of money is fixed for a specified time period. Hence, statement 1 is correct. CDs can be issued by scheduled commercial banks, excluding regional rural banks and local area banks, and select all India financial institutions, that is FIs. that have been permitted by RBI to raise short-term resources within the umbrella limit fixed by RBI. Banks have the freedom to issue CDs depending on their funding requirements. Hence, statement 2 is correct. The minimum amount of a CD should be rupees 1 lakh, that is the minimum deposit that could be accepted from a single subscriber should not be less than rupees 1 lakh and in multiples of rupees 1 lakh thereafter. CDs can be issued to individuals, corporations, companies, including banks and PDs, trust, funds, associations, etc. Non-resident Indians, that is NRIs, may also subscribe to CDs but only on non-repatriable basis. What are the advantages of investing in certificate of deposit? Number 1, CDs are less risky investment option than stocks or bonds. Number 2, certificate or of deposit is known to offer a higher rate of interest and better returns in comparison to the traditional savings accounts. Certificate of deposit is regulated by the Reserve Bank of India, hence statement 3 is not correct. Now let's come to the next question, question number 91. With reference to India's decision to expand the equalization levy to e-commerce operators and suppliers, which of the following statements is or are correct? Number 1, only non-resident e-commerce companies that sell more than INR 2 crore goods or services to Indian customers will be subject to the tax. Number 2, non-resident entities can claim a tax credit in their home country under the double taxation avoidance agreements. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is A, that is one only. So the correct answer is A, that is one only. Only non-resident e-commerce companies that sell more than INR 2 crore goods or services to Indian customers will be subject to the tax. The equalization levy has been in place since 2016 and was originally designed as a 6% tax on gross revenues from online advertising services. The latest impost was introduced in the Finance Act 2020 by widening the scope of the equalization levy to include e-commerce players and intermediaries. It's a sort of digital tax on non-resident e-commerce operators that sell more than INR 2 crore of goods or services to Indian customers and does not have a tangible presence in India. They will be subject to a tax of 2% on the revenue they generate in India from e-commerce supply or services. This levy has to be deposited by the e-commerce operator and not by the buyer of the goods or services. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Once such a levy is imposed, the income arising from the relevant transaction won't be subjected to income tax to avoid double taxation. The foreign firm won't get credit in its home country for the equalization tax paid here. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Recently, the Office of the United States Trade Representative (USTR) is initiating investigations into taxes adopted or under consideration by 10 nations, including India, on avenues of American digital service companies. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 92. Mahatma Gandhi set up Tolstoy Farm in South Africa in 1910. In this context, which of the following statements is or are correct? It was set up to house the families of the Satyagrahis. Number 2, it was funded by the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is C. That is both 1 and 2. So both 1 and 2 are correct. Gandhiji set up the Tolstoy farm, made possible through the generosity of his German architect friend Kallenbach, to house the families of the Satyagrahis and give them a way to sustain themselves. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Tolstoy Farm was the precursor of the later Gandhian ashrams that were to play so important a role in the Indian national movement. It was founded in 1910 and disbanded in 1913, proved to be an ideal laboratory for Gandhi's educational experiments. Funds also came from India. Sir Ratan Tata sent rupees 25,000 and the Congress and the Muslim League, as well as the Nizam of Hyderabad, made their contributions. Hence, statement 2 is correct. So, both the statements are correct. Now let's come to question number 93. Which of the following industries can be declared as public utility services under the Industrial Dispute Act of 1947? Number 1, banking. Number 2, currency printing presses and mints. Number 3, cotton textiles. Number 4, crude oil producing industries. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is D. That is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So they are all correct. Banking, currency printing presses and mints, cotton textiles, crude oil producing industries. So all of them are correct. As per the Industrial Disputes Act 1947, public utility service means any railway service, any service in or in connection with the working of any major port or dock, any section of an industrial establishment, on the working of, with the safety of the establishment or the workmen employed therein, depends. Any postal, telegraph or telephone service, any industry which supplies power, light or water to the public, any system of public conservancy or sanitation. Ministry of Labor and Employment notifies an industry as public service utility under the provisions of Industrial Disputes Act 1947. According to this act, any industry specified in the first schedule can be declared to be a public utility service by notification of the appropriate government is satisfied that public emergency or the public interest so requires for a period not exceeding 6 months at a time. The effect of such a declaration under the Industrial Disputes Act is that the employer cannot declare a lockout and the employees can also not go on strike, subject to certain limitations. Thus, bringing an industry under public utility service means that the industry would not see any strikes by employees or officers during the operation of the law. Some of the industries which can be declared as public utility services include banking, coal, cotton textiles, iron and steel, defense establishments, currency printing presses and mints, processing, producing, processing, production, or distribution of fuel gases industries. Industrial establishments manufacturing or producing nuclear fuel and components, heavy water and allied chemicals, and atomic energy. Manufacture or production of mineral oil or crude oil, foodstuffs, etc. Hence, all the above can be declared as public utility services. So, all the four statements or all the 4 points are all correct. Now, let's come to question number 94. The divisible pool is that portion of gross tax revenue which is distributed between the center and the states. As per the 15th Finance Commission, which of the following is or are included in the divisible pool of resources to be shared with the states? Number 1, GST compensation cess. Number 2, tax revenue of the Union territories. Number 3, cost of collection of taxes. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is D. That is none. None of the above statements are true. The divisible pool is that option of gross tax revenue which is distributed between the center and the states. The divisible pool consists of all taxes except surcharges and cess levied for a specific purpose. According to the 15th Finance Commission, the pool of tax resources of the Union government to be shared with the states. The divisible pool includes the following items from gross tax revenue. Number 1, cost of collection of taxes. Number 2, cesses and surcharges including the GST compensation cess. Number 3, tax revenue of the Union territories. Number 4, transfer from the National Calamity Contingency Duty, that is NCCD, to the National Disaster Response Fund, that is NDRF. Therefore, none of the above is included in the divisible pool. So the correct answer is D, that is none. Now let's come to question number 95. Which of the following is or are correct with reference to the ancient University of Nalanda? Number 1, it is the oldest university in the entire Indian subcontinent. Number 2, all three Buddhist doctrines, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, were taught at the university. The Chinese pilgrims, Huansang and Fahen, studied at Nalanda. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is C. That is 2 and 3 are correct. All these Buddhist doctrines, that is Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, were taught at the university. The Chinese pilgrims Huansang and Fahen studied at Nalanda. The monastic university of Nalanda is a Mahavihara, as it is a complex of several monasteries of various sizes. Till date, only a small portion of this ancient learning center has been excavated, as most of it lies buried under contemporary civilization, making further excavations almost impossible. According to literary tradition, Nalanda was visited by Buddha and Mahavira. Ashoka is said to have worshipped at the Chaitya niches of Sariputra, Buddha's disciple, and erected a temple. By the time of Harsha, AD 606 to 648, Nalanda had become the principal center of Mahayana learning and a famed university town with numerous shrines and monasteries which attracted scholars from far and near. The Chinese pilgrims Huensang and Fahen studied at Nalanda and have left an account of the settlement and its life. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Most of the information about Nalanda is based on the records of Xuanzang, previously spelled as Huensang, which states that the foundation of a monastery was laid by Kumargupta I in the 5th century CE, and this was carried forward by the later monarchs who built up a fantastic university here. There is evidence that all three Buddhist doctrines, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, were taught here, and monks made their way to Nalanda and its neighboring sites of Bodh Gaya and Gurkihar from China, Tibet, and Central Asia in the north, and Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma, and various other countries from the southeastern parts of Asia. Monks and pilgrims would take back small scriptures and illustrated manuscripts from here to their own countries. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Buddhist monasteries like Nalanda thus were prolific centers of art production that had a decisive impact on the arts of all Buddhist countries in Asia. The Takshashila, one of the ancient world's first international university, approximately 400 to 500 BCE to 550 CE, was named after Takshas, Cut Rock City, in ancient northern India. Situated strategically on the branch of the Silk Route that linked China to the west, Takshashila was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1980 and is located near Rawalpindi in modern-day Pakistan. Although a place named Nalanda existed before the Christian era, the Nalanda University came into being much later, somewhere around the 4th century AD. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. So only statement 2 and 3 are correct. Question number 96. Consider the following statements regarding wealth tax. Number 1. It is a direct tax payable on the income earned in a financial year. Number 2. It aims to reduce inequalities in wealth and levying tax on non-productive assets. Number 3. It was abolished by the Finance Act 2017-18. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer is C. The correct answer is C, that is 2 only. It aims to reduce inequalities in wealth and levying tax on non-productive assets. Wealth tax was a direct tax which was charged on the net wealth of the assessee. It was a tax on the benefits derived from ownership of property. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. Wealth tax in India was levied under the Wealth Tax Act 1957. The Income Tax Department under the Department of Revenue in the Ministry of Finance administered the Wealth Tax Act 1957 as well as the wealth tax rules framed thereunder. The tax was to be paid year after year on the same property on its market value, whether or not such property yields any income. Wealth tax was chargeable in respect of net wealth, all assets, fewer loans taken to acquire those assets. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Wealth tax was not levied on productive assets, hence investments in shares, debentures, UTI, mutual funds, etc. are exempt from it. Productive assets being those investments or assets that generate cash flows and produce a certain output. Wealth tax aims to reduce inequalities in wealth and levying tax on non-productive assets, example gold, artworks, etc. The intention of this levy was to bring parity among different classes of taxpayers. However, it was abolished in the budget 2015 as the cost incurred for recovering taxes was more than the benefits derived from it. Nobel laureate and economist Abhijit V. Banerjee recently called for the reintroduction of a wealth tax in India considering the rising inequality. Hence statement 3 is incorrect. So only statement 2 is correct. Question number 97. Special rapporteurs. A term often seen in the news refers to. So, special rapporteur. A term often seen in news refers to. So, what does this term special reporter refers to? Number A, independent experts appointed by the United Nations to advise and report on human rights situation in specific countries. Number B, special on-ground reporters and observers deployed by International Press Institute. Number C, a group of military observers deployed by UN peacekeeping forces. Number D, a recently organized group of young Indian students sent to NASA by ISRO. So the correct answer is A. The correct answer is A. That is independent experts appointed by the United Nations to advise and report on human rights situation in specific countries. Special reporters, ASRs, so short form is SRs, are independent experts appointed by the UN Human Rights Council, formerly the UN Commission on Human Rights, with the mandate to monitor, advise, and publicly report on human rights situations in specific countries and on human rights violations worldwide. The thematic mandates cover a wide range of issues relating to civil, cultural, economic, political, and social rights, including the human rights of migrants, violence against women, the rights of internally displaced persons, freedom of religion, and arbitrary detention, among many others. The functions of special reporters include responding to individual complaints, conducting studies, providing service on technical cooperation, and undertaking country visits to assess specific human rights situations. Most special reporters also receive information on specific allegations of human rights violations and send urgent appeals or letters of allegation to governments asking for clarification and concrete measures to end rights violations. While the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights at the United Nations provides the special rapporteurs with personnel and logistical assistance necessary for them to carry out their mandates. Special rapporteurs nonetheless serve in their personal capacity and do not receive salaries or any other financial retribution for their work. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 98. Consider the following statements with reference to pricing of sugarcane in India. Number 1. The fair and remunerative price (FRP) of sugarcane is announced by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Number 2. Recovery of sugar from sugarcane is one of the factors considered for fixing FRP of sugarcane. Number 3. As of now, only the central government can fix the sugarcane price. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer is A. That is 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 are correct. The fair and remunerative price (FRP) of sugarcane is announced by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Number 2. Recovery of sugar from sugarcane is one of the factors considered for fixing FRP of sugarcane. The pricing of sugarcane is governed by the statutory provisions of the Sugarcane Control Order 1966 issued under the Essential Commodities Act, that is ECA 1955. Prior to 2009-10 sugar season, the central government was fixing the statutory minimum price (SMP) of sugarcane, and farmers were entitled to share profits of a sugar mill on 50:50 basis. As this sharing of profits remained virtually unimplemented, the Sugarcane Control Order 1966 was amended in 2009, and the concept of SMP was replaced by the Fair and Remunerative Price (FRP) of sugarcane. With the amendment of the Sugarcane Control Order 1966, the concept of statutory minimum price (SMP) of sugarcane was replaced with the fair and remunerative price (FRP) of sugarcane for 2009-10 and subsequent sugar seasons. The cane price announced by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs (CCEA) is decided on the basis of the recommendations of the Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices (CACP) in consultation with the state governments and after taking feedback from associations of the sugar industry. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The amended provisions of the Sugarcane Control Order 1966 provides for fixation of FRP of sugarcane having regard for the following factors. Number 1. Cost of production of sugarcane. Number 2. Returned to the growers from alternative crops, and the general trend of prices of agricultural commodities. Number 3. Availability of sugar to consumer at a fair price. Number 4. Price at which sugar produced from sugarcane is sold by sugar producers. Number 5. Recovery of sugar from sugarcane. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Number 6. Reasonable margins for growers of sugarcane on account of risk and profits. Number 7. The realization made from the sale of byproducts like molasses, bagasse, and press mud for their inputted value. If the support price announced by the center is not agreeable to the farmers, generally, state governments announce State Advisory Price (SAP), which will be over and above the support price announced by the center. It varies from state to state and year to year. The Supreme Court recently held in its judgment that both the central government as well as the state governments have the power to fix the price of sugarcane, provided the price set by the state is higher than the minimum price fixed by the center. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Now let's come to question number 99. Which of the following features are formed by the Himalayan rivers while entering in the plain areas? Number 1, flat valleys. Number 2, oxbow lakes. Number 3, rapids. Number 4, braided channels. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is B. That is 1, 2, and 4 only. Flat valleys, then oxbow lakes, then braided channels. The Himalayan drainage system has evolved through a long geological history. It mainly includes the Ganga, the Indus, and the Brahmaputra river basins. Since these are fed both by melting of snow and precipitation, rivers of the system are perennial. These rivers pass through the giant gorges carved out by the erosional activity carried on simultaneously with the uplift of the Himalayas. Besides deep gorges, these rivers also form V-shaped valleys, rapids, and waterfalls in their mountainous course. While entering the plains, they form depositional features like flat valleys, oxbow lakes, floodplains, braided channels, and deltas near the river mouth. Hence, option B is correct. In the Himalayan ridges, the course of these rivers is highly tortuous, but over the plains they display a strong meandering tendency and shift their courses frequently. So the correct answer is B. Now let's come to question number 100. Recently, Goal program was launched by Ministry of Tribal Affairs in partnership with Facebook to number 1, provide mentorship to tribal youth through digital mode. Number 2, increase the number of tribal owned businesses in India. Number 3, empower economically and socially marginalized young women to use technology. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer is D. That is, all the statements are correct. 1, 2, and 3 all are correct. To provide mentorship to tribal youth through digital mode, increase the number of tribal owned businesses in India, empower economically and socially marginalized young women to use technology. Goal, that is Going Online as Leaders, is the flagship program of Facebook and Ministry of Tribal Affairs. The program will focus on 3 core areas: digital literacy, life skills and leadership, and entrepreneurship, and on sectors such as agriculture, art and culture, handicrafts and textiles, health, nutrition, among others. Through this partnership, the GOAL program will provide economically and socially marginalized young women with the tools and guidance they need to succeed using technology they may otherwise have not had access to. Hence, statement 3 is correct. The purpose behind GOAL is to not only increase the number of tribal owned businesses in India, but also create role models within the tribal community who can further serve as an inspiration and help the tribal youth explore, learn, and grow. Hence, statement 2 is correct. So, what are its objectives? The first objective is the GOAL program is designed to provide mentorship to tribal youth through digital mode. The, di- the digitally enabled program envisages to act as a catalyst to explore hidden talents of the tribal youth, which will help in their personal development as well as contribute to all round upliftment of their society. The program intends to upskill and empower 5,000 tribal youths in the current phase to harness the full potential of digital platforms. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The program aims to enable scheduled tribe, that is ST, youth in remote areas to use digital platforms for sharing their aspirations, dreams, and talent with their mentors. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Okay, statement 3 is correct. The program has been designed with a long term vision to develop the potential of tribal youth and women to help them acquire skills and knowledge through mentorship in various sectors, including horticulture, food processing, beekeeping, tribal art and culture, medicinal herbs, entrepreneurship, among others. Other information related to goal. The mentees and mentors have to register on portal goal.tribal.gov.in. Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has been requested to associate CSCs, that is Common Service Centers, in facilitating ST youth who do not have smartphone for registration with portal. The mentees and mentors will be selected based on their inputs in such a way that it represents tribal youth from varied professions and has representation from urban and rural area across India. The IT-based system is designed to match mentors and mentees so that they are from similar profession and preferably speak same language. The selected mentees will remain engaged in the program for 9 months or 36 weeks, comprising of 28 weeks of mentorship followed by 8 weeks of internship. At least 250 fellows who are getting scholarship from Ministry of Tribal Affairs under National Scholarship and Fellowship Scheme are part of Tribal Talent Pool will also be mentored through the program. All the selected mentees will be provided with smartphones and internet access for 1 year by Facebook, along with exposure to various external forums that will give opportunity to the participants to showcase their entrepreneurial skills and leadership abilities. The program will also create awareness amongst tribal beneficiaries about various schemes initiated by central and state governments for welfare of STs as well as their fundamental duties. Efforts will be made to integrate the program with other government schemes such as Mudra Yojana, Kaushal Vikas Yojana, Jan Dhan Yojana, Skill India, Startup India, Stand Up India, among others. This will enable the participants to leverage opportunities provided under these government schemes. So for question number 100, all the three statements are correct. So that's all guys. See you in my next video. Bye.